Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. This video is going to be the first of one, maybe two videos about how not only can you set up budgets for each job and what their costs will be, you can set up something called financial budgets. And by financial budgets, and I just clicked the button under accounting for financial budgets, it means you could set up a budget for a year for things like your office supplies, your telephone expense, how much sales you think you might have each year. You can sort of guess at that and do a budget. And then once you select a year here, I'm selecting a very old year because we have a very old accounting database in here. As soon as you select it, you'll be able to produce some reports that compare your budgets to your profit and loss statements. But first of all, before we get into setting up a budget for a year, I'd like to point out a couple of other things. On the Home tab, I first of all clicked this monthly activity spread button, and I opened this particular worksheet. You'll see it's going from January to December. It has all the years that we have active. We don't have hardly any activity except in the year 2002 unless I've just been playing around. This is our demo data, so it's a little bit harder to work with because it's not really a real builder. It's just stuff that I've entered in here. But I'm going to do a search on this monthly activity spread for the year 2002 only, so I'm clicking on that. And I'm only interested in sections, financial sections that will be on an income statement. So usually that's right after equity and sales and revenues down to non-operating expenses, and I'm going to submit a search based on that search. So now you'll see I only have 2002, and it starts with the GL account 3120 for sales, and like I said, there's not, and also there's no activity after June posted much at all in our books in the year 2002. So we have more activity. Sometimes we've come along and played and had some activity. So you'll just have to take this with a grain of salt, but you can get the idea that at near the end of a year or previous year, you would see numbers all the way through to December, your year-to-date total, and your 12-month average. The reason I'm pointing this out is because let's say we had numbers filled all in for rent, office, all the way across, and it said our monthly average was 471, which once you're through with the year, I'm assuming it'd be more like 800 or 900 or something, or 1,000 for whatever your office rent is. This one, once it might have 155 in it all the way through the month 12, and then this would average to be 155. So right now, these averages are a little bit meaningless to me, unless I just add them up and divide by 6. But at the end of the year, when you're wanting to budget for the next year, this can be a really useful worksheet for you. You can print it out by using reports. The report that I'm actually going to pay more attention to, because we don't have the right kind of data, and it's limited data in our demo data, is under accounting database, general ledgers. I've opened the menu for that, and I filled in from the 1st of 2002 to the end of 2002, and then I selected just my GL accounts from sales down to that non-operating expense, miscellaneous expense down there, and that's all that I want to show on a ledger. The reason I'm going to open this ledger is because I want to get a report that I know about. So under reports, I want to get a general ledger by GL and then by month. So I'm going to go ahead and ask for that, and you'll notice that sales is showing January, February, March. You can see that we're using percentage of completion accounting method, and it's just one job that's been going on. You can see this H11 river happening here. We only have one job in our demo thing really that has any activity. But then there's my other accounts. You'll see January and then February for small tools and supplies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the button to export this to PDF. And I've heard from some people after it's working and getting it to PDF that they're not getting this kind of window like I get, where I can just open it. And the reason you're probably not getting it, just as an aside for anybody who happens to watch this financial thing, if I'm on my Firefox, I'm clicking the 3 bars, options, and then I'm looking at applications, and hopefully you can see this behind, but one of the main things down here is this application portable document PDF. How do I want, if you notice, if I drop down, some people have just had this at save file. I'm just having it at preview in Firefox, so that's why I get this kind of box. So you can control what's happening with the PDF once you export it to PDF, what kind of thing you have Firefox do with it. I'm going to go ahead and close that. That was just an aside because actually I was answering that question just a little bit earlier. So we're going to open this as a PDF. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I want to go ahead and minimize this report. I've actually done it twice while I was thinking about it. We'll get rid of one of them. And then I'll close this window and close this window and close. And since we already clicked the button to open financial budget, it's in a tab across the top here. And so I'm going to jump back to it. And I asked for the year 2002, and I want to open and start creating a budget for that year. So far, I haven't done anything. And if I look at my document, my first thing here as far as the activity in 2002, and we're going to make a budget for 2002 even though it's sort of after the fact, but because I want you to see it. Notice that we can see, let's just say in 2002 we just expected the one job, and the total of it is $249 so far through 6 months. Let's just play like we plan to do that, and we're going to divide that number by 6. But let's say we just decided to have $42,000 in there each month. I'm going to show you how that happens. So I'm going to add a new budget line, and I believe that was 3120, sales, single family, custom. And our department that we have our custom homes in is called CH. You can do multiple departments. Let's say you have a property management department or a spec department. Maybe your property management department might be a better example for, say, telephones. You have some telephone system set up just for the property management. So you would, in this case, in my demos before, I've showed how you can have these different departments. So I might select one of those departments to be budgeting for just that department. I don't remember what that number is, but first I'd like you to see that this says use debits and credits appropriately. Revenue accounts on a chart of accounts on your set of books are almost always credit entries. In other words, they're a negative amount, which always sounds backwards because it's your sales and you'd expect it to be a positive amount. But for accounting, these are going to be hard entries into our budget, and we need to read them right to compare with your real accounting data. So please do these as accountants. Revenue accounts are usually minus. Expense accounts are usually debit. In other words, your telephone expense, your office expense would be a positive number. But I do have a note that once we see these on the worksheet itself, I'm going to reverse those with my code for better display. So sales will be positive numbers on our worksheet, and expenses will be negative, so we can get the right net amount that looks right to you. But so this would be a credit, and let's just budget $42,000 for sales. And the reason I did it up here, it says fill all 12 months with $42,000. So it's popped up and it asks if I want it to fill all 12 months. Now if I decide, around November, we might just be getting the last little money of something, and you can see how you can type into the different fields whatever amounts you want for your budget, for whatever you're budgeting for, but how you can get them quickly into the fields if you're going to budget the same amount across the year for all the months. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that one, and it's closed that window, and now it's showing my net for the year of just being $42,000. Let's take another look and decide what our cost of sales, which would be the next account down on the report that we saved. And you can see how it's month by month by month, January, February. It would be all the entries if there have been other entries. We'll see that here in a minute for the other types of accounts. But let's just for the sake of whatever, let's decide this is pretty close to $200,000. Since there's only 6 months entries, we want to see what that average is. So let's say it's 33,333. So let's minimize that report again, and let's add a new budget line. And that's going to be for our cost of sales, which maybe because we're looking at our report that we printed out for real, it's just real easy to. But there's cost of sales single family custom, and that's also going to be in our custom homes department. And we're going to this now. Remember, debits are positive amounts, so cost of sales is a debit account, and I'm going to go ahead and put 33,000 in and tell it to fill all the months with that, except for, let's say, we put 10 in for each of those as the sales, so let's just say 7,000. This is just broad guessing. You would, of course, be doing much more intensive figuring out what you're really budgeting for. But notice now we're showing 42,000 minus 3,300 for January. The net for the year would be 9,000 is what we're budgeting right now for our profit to be. But of course we have some overhead things to take care of. The net for November and December is just 3, which is the 10 minus the 7. And then it's showing the year to date. Let's just take a look and decide to budget for a couple of other things. Let me scroll up here and see what this is. That was cost of sales. Let's say we know we're not going to have a telephone in our field office or construction expense. I'd rather get down. You can budget for all these things, but I'd rather go ahead and get down to regular, not the indirect construction costs, but let's just use advertising newspapers, which is 6310. Notice we can tell we have these two repeating themselves, and then suddenly we did a larger amount in March, and April we sort of had that thing repeat itself again. So let's just make up some stuff from that. That was 220, and then this was 448. So that was 6310 for advertising, correct? Yes. So let's close that. You would probably have this report printed out and have it beside you. So let's do 6310 advertising newspapers, and this is actually going to be our overhead department. And that was 220. Let's fill all the fields with 220 first. And then let's decide that somewhere in every quarter we're going to have to spend 450. Let's just do that. Just because we know that or something. So you know in those different months at the end of each quarter you're going to be spending a little more for advertising newspapers. So now our net has lowered, and let's just do one more. I don't want to, I think you'll probably get the concept. I don't want, you would go through all your accounts and you would be entering some budget amounts. You could be budgeting for your payroll, which I won't get into, but you can use all those accounts to do it. Let's do, let's don't do anything to do with payroll. Well, we can see that we're paying $748 a month for sure for renting the office. But maybe we've changed our office to this different place suddenly in March, and our first month's rent was $952. So let's say our budget is going to be $952. We're playing like we're doing the next year, but we're not really, because I want to compare it to the. So let's just do 952, and what was that, GL? That was 8210. So we'll do 8210. And we want that to be to the overhead department, and I think it was 958, but you get the idea anyway. And let's submit that. Now our net is going down as we add more things that we're budgeting for into our budget. So that I don't make this go on for too long, I'm pretty sure you can probably get the concept of creating a financial budget this way. Once you've created one, you can copy it from year to year, which means you'll get a whole lot of stuff filled in and then just go change the lines. And let's take a look at that, about how you edit or change a line on a budget. Notice that it says to edit or delete a record, double click on the record. So let's say we wanted to change the rent office. I will double click on that rent office and that window will open for me so that I can edit this, or I could just delete this from my budget, and that's pretty straightforward. It's going to ask if you want to. I'm not going to because I want to use it for demonstration, but when you delete, I've been deleting some things earlier when I've been playing for things. There'll be an audit record that I confirm the deletion for the year 2008 of the GL number 8290, and the total budget was this. That deletion is just your financial budget record. It's not deleting all your real records for accounting. But it's auditing, who might come along and delete some lines on you if you have other people doing things for you. So that's how you create the budget, and we're going to go into these different comparison budgets with profit and loss in the very next video. But I'll show you that I can do a report of the budget only, and we don't have very much, and I like better viewing these, so I'll use my little download icon. I like viewing them in my own Adobe Acrobat Reader because they're prettier and easier to read that way. So you can see so far what we've done and what our net will be. And these, even though you entered these as credits, these will be positive numbers, and the ones you enter as debit will be minus numbers, because now we're trying to show it in a good reading way, not in an accounting way. So sales, etc., will be positive. You can also, I'll open the worksheet for this actually, so that I can show you how you can search your worksheet. If you're just interested in what you've budgeted for one department, like I'll just click the overhead and I submit search, you'll see that I'm just seeing the two lines we put into the budget department. And if on this screen, you can do a report based on your search results. I won't spend the time to open that. It's pretty much like this report, except it's just, this one is going to show you the department's detail. Let's get it opened with my Acrobat Reader and get it a little larger. But you can see here, and if there were 2 or 3 lines for different departments under advertising, you'd see 3 lines under advertising and then the total for this department, this department, this department. So it's giving you your department IDs and the detail of what you set up for your budget. Let's go ahead and stop this particular video, and then we can take a look at these comparison budget reports. Thank you for watching.